Oh, Vigneswaraya Namaha. Namaste, friends. I am Gurti Viswasarao and already introduced myself in my earlier videos, which you may remember. The videos are for the chapters in my book with the title Bhagavad Gita, My A Calmness Viewpoint. I got it printed by Notion Press Chennai. It is also available on Amazon and Flipkart. This particular video is for the third chapter in my book and corresponds to Karma Yoga in Bhagavad Gita. As in the book, in each video, I am trying to give first a brief account or gist of Bhagavan's message contained in that particular chapter, followed by my own viewpoint expressed again in brief. My point of view is just as understood by me, a commoner amongst multitude of commoners in this world. Also, my friends, I am specifically trying in each video to put forth my ideas and my viewpoints on Bhagavan's message in each chapter of Bhagavad Gita in the shortest possible time, around 15 to 20 minutes, only a little of your precious time. With my inherent interest in knowing about this magnificent treatise, Bhagavad Gita, and about the wonderful and mysterious creator of this beautiful world, what I have written in the book and what I am expressing in my videos is a simple outcome of that interest. And whatever my viewpoints penned in the book and being expressed in these videos, I sincerely expect to be valuable to those who have absolute faith in the God Almighty. In the last chapter, Sankhya Yoga, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, in giving his divine message to Arjuna, has in fact given to us all the most sublime message about Karma Yoga, that is the path of action, to realize our true self and the reality of this mortal life. This chapter, Karma Yoga, starts with Arjuna inquiring with Bhagavan Sri Krishna how we can advise him to go on this path of action, that is to go and fight the enemy, while he just asserted that Sankhya or Jnana Yoga is an accomplished path for self-realization. In reply, Bhagavan Sri Krishna clarifies, these two are distinct and different paths to reach the same goal, that is self-realization. While Sankhya Yogi follows a path of knowledge and inner wisdom, a Karma Yogi is expected to proceed on the path of action to reach the goal. He further says in the following sloka, Na karmana manarambhat, naishkarmyam purushosnate, nacha sannyasana siddhim samadhikachyate. That is, achieving the goal is implausible or unlikely by a Sankhya Yogi just by mere renunciation of actions, and equally unlikely by a Karma Yogi also by mere abstaining or absenting from doing actions. Bhagavan further says in this sloka, Nahi kasyit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karmakrut karite havasha karma sarva prakriti jair gunai. Meaning, nobody can remain without performing actions, Bhagavan says. Everyone is bound to perform actions due to prakriti born, that is nature born qualities. And he further says, one is hypocrite if he abstains from actions externally, while he inwardly dwells upon or aspires for the indriyarthas, that is object of senses, that is form, touch, smell, taste and sound, which we sense and enjoy through our indriyas, that is sense organs. Bhagavan says that an enlightened person is invulnerable, that is not at all affected by the outcome of his actions, benefit or no benefit, of doing an action or not doing. In this sloka, tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purusha. He advises that one needs to do dutiful actions always with no attachment. This enables him to reach the Supreme. He further says, an ignorant soul falsely assumes himself to be the doer of his actions. So, for well-being of the world, the wise should perform their own actions and they should encourage and prompt the ignorant people who are easily deluded, that is attracted by gunas, that is characteristics that accrue from prakriti, that is nature by birth, while they perform their actions. In the following sloka, Mai sarvani karmani sannyasa jhatma chadasa nirasi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigidajvaraha. Meaning, he advises Arjuna to dedicate all his actions to him, that is Paramatma himself, and to fight the enemy after feeling free from any expectation, attraction and despair. In the following sloka, Indriya Sendriya Syarthe Ragadvesho Vyavasthitau Tayorna Vasamagachet Tau Hesya Parpanthanau. Bhagavan says, in every Indriyartha, that is, in every sense object that we enjoy through sense organs, the two evils, Raga and Dvesha, that is desire and anger, are hidden. One should not be a slave to these twin evils of desire and anger, which cause greatest harm to one's well-being. To Arjuna's further query regarding the wrongdoers in this world, Bhagavan clarifies that it is a desire arising from Rajoguna, that leads one to sinful actions. Rajoguna is one of the three gunas or characteristics that one accrues through Prakriti, that is by birth. And we will be learning about these three gunas further in a later chapter. This desire is like a fire, and if it is not contained, it remains always the worst enemy to a person, Bhagavan says. In this sloka, Indriyani manobuddhi asyadhisthana muchite eter vimohyachesha jnanam avurcha dehinam. Meaning, Indriyas, mind and buddhi, that is intellect, are the living places for the desires. Through these media, the desire in a person conceals his wisdom and deludes him, that is, makes him a slave to moha, that is delusion. Bhagavan concludes this chapter with this advice: knowing that Atma, the divine self within a body, is very powerful and superior to intellect, the mind and indriyas. One needs to first control the mind and indriyas using his intellect, and he has to destroy the worst enemy, desire. Now he gave me a viewpoint. The viewpoint is a sincere attempt on how an ordinary person like me can understand, need to understand and assimilate Bhagavan's message contained in this chapter. The discourse in this chapter, Karma Yoga, along with the one in the previous chapter, Sankhya Yoga, may be considered to be the precursor or pioneer for the rest of the chapters. It contains the whole significance of Gita that one needs to comprehend or understand and seek for fulfillment of her or his life. In the last chapter, Sankhya Yoga, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, in giving his divine message to Arjuna, has in fact given to us all also the most sublime message about the path of action, that is Karma Yoga, for realization of our true self and reality of this mortal life, even while going through our daily actions. We already understood that Bhagavan knows our limited capabilities, and he also knows that we find difficulty in following the path of Sankhya Yogi. His message about the path of action or Karma Yoga is definitely meant for multitude of ordinary souls like us only. In a previous video, we being ordinary persons have already questioned ourselves. How many of us can lead a life of such godly personalities like Gautam Buddha and Vivekananda, sacrificing all our so-called comforts to understand the true values of this mortal life? In that connection, we finally decided to be attentive, submissive, and listen to and try to assimilate the teachings of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the Visuguru, or a teacher, as much as possible. So let us proceed forward. In this chapter, Bhagavan clarifies Arjuna's doubt. Which are the two paths of Sankhya Yogi or Karma Yogi is being prescribed to him by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Bhagavan says, Jnana or Karma Yoga are distinct only by the way of practice to achieve the same ultimate goal of realizing self and understand the reality of this mortal life. Also, what Paramatma repeatedly tells Arjuna and also commoners like us is this: to follow this path of action or Karma Yoga, that is, go on doing your duty and surrender all your actions to Paramatma with a mind fixed on Him only and without any attachment and without any expectation on their outcome. Truly, an ordinary individual like me may immediately feel skeptical about the simple and unassuming statement. Why? Because all of us are all hard pressed to do some work or other for our daily existence and out of our responsibilities, and it is no surprise that our mere survival may depend on the result of our actions. This is no doubt true, but to be frank with ourselves, we also have to admit, is it also not true that for whatever action we do we have any control on its outcome? No. We are bound to accept the result and are indeed accepting the outcome, whether it is a failure or success. So, how much true it is when Bhagavan advises to do all our actions without any attachment and with no expectation on its return. We must take it as a parental advice and is most beneficial to ordinary mortals like us. Therefore, Bhagavan's advice is definitely a sound one and must be suitable to all of us. Here, one may have suspicion whether Nishkam Karma, that is action with no desire, means that anybody can do any karma he likes just by assuming to be Nishkama. Definitely not. It only means a karma or action without selfishness, with no harm meant to others, and without regard to the outcome of the actions. It means to have control over our mind and indriyas in doing our karma, that is action or work, and to feel no attachment like a lotus leaf. In this chapter, we should make a note of Bhagavan's caution that in every indriyartha, that is in every sense object we receive from our indriyas, that sense organs, and enjoy, the twin evils, raga and dvesha, that desire and anger, are hidden, and one should not be slave to these two evils. This we heard from Bhagavan already in this sloka. Indriya sendriya syardhe, रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्न pasumagachet tau hesya paripanthinau. And also we heard from Bhagavan in the earlier chapter Sankhya Yoga also, he warned about these two twin evils in this sloka. Ragadvesha vyuktaisto vishan indriyaischam atmavasyer vidheyatma prasadham adhigachati. With the meaning, one who is under control, even if he receives objects with his senses, will be free from both these evils, raga and dvesha, and attains peace. We must keep remembering always and every moment of our lives this Bhagavan's caution and advice contained in these two slokas or these two chapters. Further, it is also a surprise for us, like Arjuna, to notice that when one follows a righteous path, a path that gives him immense pleasure and solace, many others may get engulfed in bad activities, even though these activities are known to them to be harmful and are to be discarded. Why this happens? What is the reason behind these different behavioral tendencies? We should carefully understand Bhagavan's reply to this sloka. Kama yasha krodha yasha rajoguna samudbhava mahasino mahapapma vidhyanamiha vairinam. With the meaning, it is all attributable to rajoguna. The desire and the anger arise out of this rajoguna. Rajoguna is a characteristic that one acquires by birth and by nature, that is by prarabdha karma. Kama, that is desire, is all sinful and is destroying. One should know this as the most fearful enemy in this mortal life. Prarabdha karma means is something like cause and effect. It means the effects we accrue in this birth due to our actions in previous births. About these three types of gunas or characteristics, which are sattva, rajas and tamas, let us understand at this juncture they will be present in a being in different proportions. One's disposition or character depends on the composition of these gunas he has inherited by birth and by his prarabdha karma. Here the two words raga and kama carry the same meaning, desire. The message given by Bhagavan Sri Krishna and the ill effect of this desire on a person is so profound as we can see in the following sloka. Dhumena vite vanihi yathadarso malenacha yathol urto garbha tatha tened mahavatam. Meaning, due to rajoguna, a selfish desire arises out of an unholy attitude in a person and pushes him to such a situation that it engulfs him like a dust covering up a mirror, smoke screening a fire, and mavi surrounding an infant in a womb. In the above sloka, you can see how so clear, picturesque or scenic way Bhagavan described a person smitten or infatuated or obsessed predominantly by rajoguna. Also, I like to draw all our attention to Bhagavan's words, Yathol Bhena Urto Garbha, meaning Mavi surrounding an infant in a womb. From these words, we can understand what a unique protective system Paramatma provided to a growing infant in a womb. Mavi, as you may be knowing, is a sort of protective cover called placenta in English that develops in a womb as a means of safety to a child. Paramatma's Sushti, that is creation, is so bewildering. We could not but prostrate before him, the creator of this universe, and salute him with folded hands in gratitude and admiration. The concluding advice from Bhagavan in this chapter is the most important one and is contained in the following two slokas. The first sloka is Indriyani paranyahu indriyabhya parammanah manasastu parabuddhi yo buddhehe paratasu saha. Meaning, the senses or indriyas are superior to the body, mind superior to the senses. More superior to the mind is the intellect, and one superior even to the intellect is the Atma. Here we need to know that a self-realized person can understand that Atma is none other than the Antaryami, that is the indweller within a body, which is nothing but Paramatma's Ansha, that is Paramatma's manifestation. The second sloka is Yavam Buddhehe Param Buddha Samstabhyatmanam Atmana Jahi Satrum Mahavaho Kamrupam Durasatam. Meaning, thus knowing Atma very powerful and superior to the intellect, one needs to restrain the mind through intellect and destroy the desire, which is the stark or the glaring enemy lying within. With this concluding advice from Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the chapter ends. Also with this ends my viewpoint on the chapter. Dear friends, I wish to say about a Vishesh Sukti or a special word which is a connected and an illuminating thought from a Upanishad or a writing by an eminent personality. Also, it is connected with the message given by Bhagavan Sri Krishna in this chapter. Here, the Vishesh Sukti is from Upadesara, written in Sanskrit by Sri Ramana Maharshi. It is about Nishkam Karma, that is selfless action or action with no desire. As we learned, Nishkam Karma is the keystone of Karma Yoga, educated by Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the present chapter and also in the last chapter Sankhya Yoga. Sri Ramana Maharshi wrote in Tamil language a composition of 30 verses, namely Upadesa Undiyar. Hope I spelled the word correctly, which Maharshi rewrote in Sanskrit with the name Upadesasara. The essence of this composition is on the need for self-enquiry by any individual to attain self-realization. As you may be aware, Sri Ramana Maharshi always emphasized on the need for self-enquiry. But as he felt, the path of self-enquiry may be difficult to follow by any ordinary person, and as it requires more maturity of understanding, he suggested 3 paths in the first 15 verses of the composition. They are: the first path is path of selfless karma or path of selfless action. 2. The path of bhakti or devotion. The third one is path of yoga. Here yoga means practice of pranayama, that is practice of breath regulation. All these paths finally culminate in the path of self-enquiry, which Maharshi described in the last 15 verses in Upadesara. Here I wish to recite the following verse in Upadesara. Iswararpitam nechaya krutam chitta sodhakam mukti sadhakam, meaning Nishkam Karma, that is work performed as a worship to God Almighty without an expectation in return, purifies the mind and helps in achieving liberation or self-realization. In fact, this is also the essence of message we received from Bhagavan Sri Krishna in this chapter Karma Yoga. Before I leave you friends and join you again for the video on chapter 4 of my book, I wish to say a few words about Narayaniyam, a unique composition in Sanskrit written by 16th century poet Narayana Bhattatari. Narayaniyam is a replica but a condensed form of Vyasa Bhagavatam, that is of Srimad Bhagavatam written by sage Vedavyasa. Narayaniyam contains around 100 dasikams or sections, each consisting of 10 slokas each in Sanskrit. While we know that Vyasa Bhagavatam contains around as many as 18,000 slokas, we amazingly find that the poet Narayana Bhattatari embodied the whole essence of Bhagavatam within these 1,000 slokas in Narayaniyam. Narayaniyam exhibits the same beauty and purity in presentation, and every sloka in Narayaniyam embodies the poet's deep devotion to Sriman Narayana, the God's incarnate, and it also displays and shows the poet's arti for relief from his sorrow. Arti means heart-rending entreaty. In this composition, the poet, in a very poignant and soul-touching way, describes how a devotee, out of his intense devotion, pours out his agony and opens out his whole soul before his beloved God. In the first sloka of Narayaniyam, the poet starts with a worshipping tone and prays that Bhagavan Sri Krishna is an incarnation of infinite spiritual bliss, which is beyond any comparison. He transcends all limits of time and space. He is all-pervading and the benefactor of entire universe. He is beyond comprehension and understanding, even by Vedas. He can only be attained by unwavering and steadfast devotion by a true devotee. Akin to Bhagavan Sri Krishna's message in this chapter Karma Yoga about the evil influence of Indriyardhas and the need for control of our Indriyas, in the following sloka in Narayaniyam also, the poet Narayana Bhattatari states that control over the Indriyas and the mind can be achieved by Ananya Bhakti, or deep devotion towards the Supreme God Almighty. Thus, the sloka reads, Tvad-bhakto bhajyamanopi cha visharasaihi indriya shanti-hetoh bhaktaiva kramyamanaihi punarapi kalutair durbalaihi nabijayah saptachir deepitachir dahat kaliyadha bhuridaru prapancham tvad-bhaktyoge tadhaiva pradhagati duritam durmadha pendriyanam. Meaning, Paramatma's devotee may be momentarily pulled by worldly pleasures and affected by restlessness of his indriyas when these desires are not fulfilled. But he soon recovers and becomes invincible, that is invulnerable, when these pulls are disabled and conquered by his deep devotion towards Paramatma. Just as huge quantities of wood in a jungle are consumed by a raging fire, all the devotee's sins and sinful tendencies are burnt away by his intense devotion. In the poem, the poet also exclaims how the sense organs exert their influence on a true worshipper. Here, You may surely think, how many commoners like us are eligible to be considered as a true worshipper or true devotee, as described in the poem by the poet Narayan Bhattatri? The word eligibility reminds me here. A devotional song sung by Dr. G. Balkrishna Prasad and scripted by another eminent personality, Dr. Samvedam Shanmukh Sharma. The main theme in the song is like this. A devotee feeling remorse and sorrowful because he is ignorant of Shastras, he never tried to restrain his indriyas and his mind, never offered a steady prayer to Paramatma. I try to sing a few lines of this song here, of course, in my mature voice. ఏ రీతి కరుణింతువో శివా, ఏ రీతి కరుణింతువో శివా, తగిన రీతుల సాధనే లేని నన్ను ఏ రీతి కరుణింతువో, తగిన రీతుల సాధనే లేని నన్ను ఏ రీతి కరుణింతువో. Now, a common soul like me, with no credibility of whatsoever, may have to make a louder appeal, a more intense appeal to Paramatma, with more arti, that is, with more earnestness. Jagamele Paramatma, ఏమని మొరలిడుదు, ఏమని మొరలిడుదు. I wish God jails me to keep my thoughts always on Him. సంకెళ్ళు వేయరా, సంకెళ్ళు వేయరా నా తలపులకు, సంకెళ్ళు వేయరా నా తలపులకు, నీ తలపులలోనే బందీని చేయరా, నీ తలపులలోనే బందీని చేయరా. ఏమని మొరలిడుదు, ఏమని మొరలిడుదు. నారాయణ నారాయణ శ్రీమన్నారాయణ, నారాయణ నారాయణ శ్రీమన్నారాయణ, శ్రీమన్నారాయణ. Let me make my prayers within myself. So now with these words I remain.